The college got involved in Ex-Cre CAP around about July 2011, if I remember correctly. And there were probably two fundamental reasons that we were actively involved in that. The first one was really a commercial reason. Around that time, we became very much aware that HE in particular was going to be funded very differently. So students were having to pay for their own courses. That had a knock-on effect, I think, to the college. It meant that more than ever before, we had to make sure that our courses were clear, that they were presented accurately, and that they were attractive to the end customer. Because we'd moved into a commercial situation where we were having to demonstrate that we were better than other people at delivering HE. So that was kind of a really driving factor behind wanting to look at course data, course information, if you like, from a commercial point of view. The other thing that had coincided with that was our understanding of our own processes and systems within the college, where we recognised that we were increasingly running into problems in actually getting together the course information in the first place. We found, for instance, that the course information came from a wide variety of different sources. It was held on different databases, it was written for different people in mind. As a result of that, very often we just didn't have the information that we needed in that new commercial environment. So the coming together really of those two things, together with the opportunity to be involved in the course data project, the Ex-Cre CAP project, that happened at just the right time for us and was an enabling factor in us actually moving forward and solving some of the problems that we saw. The funding side of things last year changed dramatically. I think as everybody recognises now, HE moved from a system where effectively the government provided substantial grants towards HE, in some cases providing almost the full cost, in other cases subsidising to a very large extent. And they moved away from that to one whereby every student effectively had to pay their own way. That meant that students were obviously going to move into a much more commercially aware environment. They were going to ask much more significant questions about value for money, and in particular, colleges in the FE sector were going to have to demonstrate quite clearly that they were good value for money. And importantly, I think if you're a customer, which is essentially what the course data project is all about, you will have a different view on that data. So it's really important that the data can be filtered, analysed, segregated in order to meet the particular needs of an end customer. And those end customers could vary from the curriculum staff themselves through, importantly of course, to the person that actually wants to take that course. Early, or in fact soon after the course data project was launched and we'd applied for it and gained our initial funding for phase one, the KIS data project was also launched by the government. KIS standing for Key Information Set. The important thing about KIS is that it was an absolute must-do project. We had no alternative but to be involved in it, and there were very set deadlines that we had to meet for that. So we looked very carefully at that project, and we decided that what we do is to use the KIS project as a launch pad for the main course data project. There was a lot of overlap in terms of information, but I think importantly for the college, it was also a must-do reason for getting involved in course data.
For this project, there was a need to audit the data and to look at the data life cycle. And as this project had already taken part in stage one, which happened before I joined the project, some of the initial work had been done, but it was important to join all of these pieces together. And I joined the project in February 2012, and one of the first things I did was to look at the pieces of information that Loughborough College held already. And because I'd worked in both the FE sector and the HE sector, I was very familiar with the DELI and NSS data. So that's the Destination of Leavers in Higher Education and the National Student Survey, which form part of the information required for this project. I met with all of the HE course leaders, and inform them about the project and how we were going to use different sets of data to provide the information required. So for the key information set, we were using information from the Delhi survey, which included employability information, destination information, potential earnings information. And from the National Student Survey, that gave some satisfaction information about the course and the facilities and the teaching quality. And we then had to provide additional information from within the college which related to the teaching and learning experience that the students would have, and also the assessment experience. And initially I thought that some of that data might be available from the timetables. So whilst all the HE provision does have full timetable information, the level of detail about the type of teaching and learning activities that were taking place in those events was not there. So one of the advantages here for Loughborough has been that we could add additional event types to our timetabling system, and that will benefit the college in the future because we know that we need to provide a full college KISS set of data for both HE and FE and short course provision in the future, and we will be able to identify those percentages of direct teaching and indirect teaching. For the assessment, looking at the percentages of coursework and exams and other forms of assessment, we needed to go direct to the teaching teams. And the HE administration team had already started work in this area. They'd created some spreadsheets to gather that information. So once the HE course leaders were fully aware of where this data was going to come from, and they understood the reason for us collecting this, and of course the main reason for us collecting this is to enhance our marketing information. It gives potential students the opportunity to see what Loughborough can offer and the way in which our courses are offered, and to be able to compare our course provision with other HE course providers. Looking at the data life cycle, curriculum teams and other functional areas across the college are asked for curriculum information throughout the year, and sometimes they're asked for the same information more than once. And one of the key benefits of taking part in this project has been to identify all of the data requirements and to be able to map those onto a single college calendar, so that we could see the highs and lows of information requirements. And that's enabled us to move some of those data collection activities to different times of the year, so that everything is just in time, it's collected once and it's used many times. So that's been a big advantage for the college. It's smoothed that data collection activity. The college is aware of all of the information gathering requirements, and it's made life easier for curriculum teams particularly. The functional areas that were looked at for the data life cycle included management information systems, finance, the curriculum teams, the quality team, and of course marketing and communications. The information that we gather about our courses is held on our central student records and curriculum system. Again, another major advantage for us, that we do have a central system to hold all of this information. The additional things that we need for the ESCRI part of the project, and ESCRI stands for the Exchange of Course-Related Information, so very much marketing focused. So the additional things that we needed for that were items that we currently didn't have held centrally. So working with marketing and comms team, we agreed on a set of additional data descriptions relating to things such as the facilities that they have for a course. So they may be specialist sports facilities or specialist catering facilities, for example. Narrative relating to the way in which teaching and learning takes place, narrative relating to the way in which assessments take place, and that complements the KISS information, which had the percentages of teaching and learning and percentages of assessment activities. We've also enhanced the web pages by adding testimonials and case studies. So really just enriching the information that we already held about each course to give potential students far more information about the experience that they could expect if they chose a course at Loughborough College. And I think that course teams have seen that as being very beneficial, because we've been consistent across the college. We'll be able to roll it out not just into the HE provision, but across all provision at Loughborough College. So that will bring in our further education, our short courses, our work-based learning provision, so that we will have better informed applicants for our courses.
The collection of the data represented an excellent sharing of practice across the college with the management information people and all our curriculum teams and my HE admin team. So we issued templates to the curriculum teams where it was necessary about the collection for the teaching, learning, assessment data, and these were then collated with the central MIS data held on students, and eventually the widget emerged out of all that process. On the first day that the widget was launched nationally, all our courses had successfully populated and launched, and we were extremely pleased about that. The KISS widget, like so many processes, is quite difficult for colleges. For example, some of our courses are not included in the National Student Survey or in the Delhi data surveys. Therefore, what we had to do in some cases was provide alternative methods of collecting some of that data for the project. And the aggregation onto the final KISS widget was very successful with the National Student Survey data, the Delhi data, our own teaching and learning data, assessment data, etc. The finished product, as to repeat, for colleges isn't as perfect as it is for some of the universities, because all our data is not collected in the same way. But in future, we will have to pay for some of these services, and hopefully, when we are paying, we will get it absolutely the way we want it. The government naturally is very concerned that prospective students have all access to as much public and published information as possible. They get a lot of that already through UCAS and other surveys. The KISS and the widgets are yet a further stage in this process, and we would hope very much that the impact will be considerable. So for instance, the area where we score very highly because of the size of our classes and the personalised nature of our teaching is the overall satisfaction for courses. And already with some parents and parents' evenings and showing that to them, they have been very impressed with that. So in summary, we would hope that the impact of that would do what we think we do, i.e. very personalised, good levels of teaching and support in much smaller classes than at universities, but in a very high quality way.
The learning points from this project have been several. One of the first things to do really is to plan the project. There were deadlines to meet, so I would always start from that deadline and work backwards. It's very important to have the right people in your project team, and as project officer for this piece of work, I included as many people as possible, those people who are going to be involved in some way in this project. We set up our own SharePoint site, which we've used for internal communications, and we've had regular project meetings. We've used our own blog to communicate information. And I think communication has been the key part for this. Because the project, I feel, has been very HE focused, some of the values in the ESCRI vocabularies don't match very well with the FE information. So we've produced various cross-reference or mapping tables to convert the values from the HE speak into the FE speak. And in that way, we've been able to produce valid ESCRI data feeds, which have gone through the validator successfully. We do know that this requirement will be extended to all provision in the near future. So we're very well placed as a college to provide all of our information in this particular format. One of the other benefits for us is that currently we have to provide several sets of data to different external organisations such as UCAS and Hot Courses, and locally to the Leicestershire Connections Service for the LCAP admissions service. That's their common application process. And by providing our data in a consistent and standard format, all of these external providers, should they wish, of course, be able to pick up the information from this single data feed. Because we've added additional attributes to our course marketing information, we can ensure that all of that data is available to these external agencies. So we see this as a very important step for Loughborough College to be able to provide full and concise information about our curriculum and course provision. And as we move into the future, we will be able to provide all of our course information in this format, and therefore reduce the number of processes that we have within Loughborough College to provide data to external agencies.
The plan really for ESCRI is that we're in a position where we can deliver to our customers, who at the end of the day are going to be students, concise, accurate and timely information which fully reflects the courses that we're on offer here at the college. And if we can get anywhere near that goal, then I should be really pleased indeed, and I think the project will have worked really well. Now, along the way, we've had some significant milestones. For instance, I mentioned earlier that we'd linked this very heavily to the KISS implementation. And I have to say, to the huge credit of those who worked on the project within the college, that not only did we achieve the goal of actually getting a KISS data stream up and running on time, but we got accurate data available on the website, both the aggregator's website and our own, on time. And there was a tremendous buzz about the college when we actually did that and achieved that. And we looked around about other colleges and other HE institutions around the area, and we were genuinely one of the first that actually had that information available on the day that it was published. So we were really pleased about that. And I think the other point is that that has remained sustainable. So it wasn't a flash in the pan, it wasn't just something that we managed to achieve on the day. It is there, and it's there consistently, and it's accurate. So KISS was a big step forward for us, and I think we found that to be really useful to us in moving forward on the course project as a whole. And if we can replicate that in some way with the course data project, then I think that would have been hugely beneficial to us. Along the way, of course, I think we've learned quite a lot of things about ourselves, and about the complexities of working in a college and the difficulties in actually getting anywhere near that kind of goal. Because I think the reality is, and to some extent we understood this when we started, but I think the realisation of that has really come about in the last few months, and that is that being successful with a project like this isn't just about the technology, it's not even just about the processes, it's actually about winning the minds of people who are using the data, creating the data along the way. And I think we've still got a little way to go on that yet in actually putting that into place so that we end up with a successful project. And as I say, success for me is actually having the right information available to our customers and that being recognised not just by our customers but by our own internal staff who can see immediately that that is delivering the results, i.e. they're getting customers coming in the door who know all about the courses, who want to come to us as a college, and of course who go out having satisfactorily achieved those results as well. So I hope that's a clear indication of the benefits as far as we're concerned, and perhaps a little bit about the story of how we got there, and are still trying to get there actually along the way.